Run away. Looking for some thoughts here, especially from the ladies. Wife and I have been married 12 years. I am 47, my wife 38. We have 2 children, 6 and 10 years old. Wife has historically had a bit higher desire than I have, but we had a reasonable bonding life. Wife wanted a 3rd child, but I felt we had all we could handle, but never said no, just not right now. Found out 11 months ago wife was in an affair with her boss. Much has happened in the last few years. My elderly mother became terminally ill and passed away. We had an unplanned pregnancy and miscarriage. My professional career of 18 years became jeopardized. Company I worked for was failing, caused me a lot of stress, and ended up with me being laid off due to downsizing. Shortly after being laid off, I discovered by reading text messages that my wife was involved with her boss at her workplace and had been in a physical affair for much of the preceding year. The affair was primarily conducted in hotels during business travel, but also in the office where they worked. She trickles-truthed me for about a week, then finally admitted to the affair, gave me details, complete transparency, does not travel with OM anymore, does not work late, does not spend any time alone with him anymore. But, since I am out of work, and we must have her salary to survive, she still works at the same job. She is in administration and makes a good salary. I did not expose the affair to our families or her workplace, as we need her job and insurance. We went through a period of hysterical bonding after the affair, sometimes sleep together multiple times a day for a couple of months. Now, a few more months down the road, time has fallen off again. She swears that the affair is over. I see no evidence suggesting the affair is continuing. However, she still works in close contact with her AP and they must communicate on business matters. She claims when pressed on the matter that she is just not in a place mentally where bonding is a priority. She is close to finishing getting her MBA. She claims that I have not been searching for a job, and that is showing her that she and our family's future does not matter to me. It could not be farther from the truth. I literally feel her pulling back away from me. She has now cut off intimacy and gives me every excuse in the book to avoid bonding, but claims she wants to save the marriage, and that she still loves me and wants us to make it. I have had depression with all that's happened and been taking meds for depression and occasionally sleep aids, as I have had much trouble sleeping since D-Day. Now, 11 months out, I am feeling much better, but my esteem has taken a beating and I still have bad days. I'm just doing the best I can. I worked and commuted for 18 years straight at a stressful engineering career in a specialized field. There is no other opportunity to find work in this field within several states of where we live. I am basically looking at starting completely over in a career in a different field of work when I do find something I am suited for. We live in a small town. We do not live in an area of the country where engineering jobs become available often. I have friends and acquaintances watching all the likely places where a job may come available, and check into leads on jobs that sound suitable. So far, after a year, nothing has appeared that I am a good fit for. My family owns timber land and we have cut a substantial amount of timber this year. So we are comfortable right now with money. Not wife quit your job comfortable, but we could go a couple of years like we are, supplementing my wife's salary with the timber proceeds. All of our debt is paid off now, except for the mortgage. I have been taking care of our children, handling all school duties for them, keeping them full-time right now, all of the shopping, doctor and dentist appointment, all of the cooking, cleaning, much of the laundry, keeping an acre yard, all of the maintenance, keeping up a rental property that we own, and taking care of many animals that our family has 9 cats, 3 dogs, rabbits, turtles, and several fish aquariums, and also taking care of my wife's elderly mother, at times buying her groceries, doctor appointments, or visits in the middle of the night, helping her keep her living area clean. My wife studies for her degree much of the time, and I have to keep the kids entertained and give her peace and quiet. She is also trying to lose weight and spends a large amount of time on the treadmill. I swear that I am doing all I can, but it's more than one person can manage. It's a large house, and it's a ton of work to keep things straight with the kids and animals constantly making messes. Her attitude is, since I am not working a job, the house should be spotless. Wife complains about everything I do. Seems I can do nothing right. If I try to do one thing for myself, hobbies, interests, friends, she attacks me with, why aren't you looking for a job instead? My wife claims I am not holding up my end of the marriage because I haven't taken just any old job to try to help ends meet. I have brought into our household this year around double what my yearly salary was between my mother's inheritance and the timber cutting. She claims I'm not trying to find a job, and it's embarrassing to her. How the hell can I, doing what I'm doing? It's not that simple, because if I'm not doing all this stuff I'm doing, it has to get done somehow. If we put the kids in daycare, and I take a lower paying job, then much of what I make will go straight to paying daycare, and everything else I am doing will still have to be done somehow, and strangers will be raising our kids. I do not intend for this situation to be long term. Doing what I'm doing until I can find a good job just makes the most sense to me. I am looking for a job, just haven't found one yet. Before I was laid off, we both commuted. Logistics with getting the kids to school were strained. We argued about housework. We were living paycheck to paycheck, lots of debt, lots of stress, lots of issues that contributed to us drifting apart and making her affair possible. The affair was with a new younger boss that was transferred in from another location. They worked long hours together, lunched together, and traveled together. She was literally spending more time with him than me because of work. She made bad choices and they fell into an affair. Never in the 15 years I have known my wife have we ever had any of these kind of problems. She's the last person I ever would have expected this from. By the time I started noticing signs, it had been going on about 8 months. She claims she felt like I didn't love her anymore. No, I was busy while life was beating the crap out of me, and she decides the answer is to bang another man. Liam was feeding her his line of crap and she fell hard for it. He is single and much younger than me. There is no other spouse for me to expose the affair to. He lives over an hour away. As much as I wanted to, I never confronted the guy. Now, when we are supposed to be reconciling, 11 months after D-Day, she has cut me off emotionally and physically, claiming it because I have not taken a job yet, and she's just acting nervous about our future, just will not have meaningful conversations about our issues. All she wants to do is turn anything I say around to talking about me not having a job yet. Yes, she wants to rug sweep. Much of our problem now is because I check up on her and refuse to let her rug sweep. She refuses any type of counseling, doesn't believe in it. My question is, my not finding a job by now, given our situation, something that she has a right to feel is a marriage deal breaker? Or does it point more towards her and OM starting the affair back up underground? Or maybe she just wants out, but can't say so. I feel like I don't have a leg to stand on because of how she views the job situation. I am struggling with feeling she is not all in the reconciliation, especially lately since she is more distant. Any thoughts? I'm reasonably sure the miscarriage was mine as it happened over a year before the was transferred to her workplace. The was nowhere near until transferred, then after knowing him 6 months she was intimate with him on a business trip. The affair could definitely be underground, but I keep track of her whereabouts very tightly now. If she is still intimate with him, it's in an office environment. I would like nothing better than to sink OM's career, but my wife's would likely go down with him. I'm almost to the point of not giving a damn. If I expose to my family, they will run her out of town on a rail. Her family probably wouldn't care if we divorced. Her sister has gone through one, and my wife's mom and dad divorced due to infidelity years ago. After D-Day, I bought online copies of How to Help Your Spouse and Not Just Friends and had her read them. She read them and showed some remorse for a period of time, but she seems incapable of sustaining it. Since time has gone by and I'm still not employed, her remorse has gone away. It's like a Mexican standoff where I'm like, you aren't doing what you ought to be, and she's like, why should I, when you won't get a job? I feel like I'm going nuts with her working with the guy still, but she works in a tech industry where there aren't many jobs locally either. She's 15 years into a career that's going great. She has said if I found a job and we needed to relocate that she would. I don't want to try that unless we get our relationship back on track first. My main goal seems to be repairing our relationship at any cost. Hers seems to be securing financial security. The truth of it is, I know that just about all I can do is just take steps to get out of this insanity. Then I look at my healthy, happy kids, and I cannot bear to break up their contented world. My wife and I operate well together. When we are getting along, it is truly, truly good. We do not let the kids witness any of our troubles. She says the affair was just a fantasy. She was thrown together with this guy, spent a lot of time with him, and just made a bad choice 1,000 miles from home. Then, once she was in it, could not make it stop. But I have to deal with knowing she would call me from her hotel, with me sitting on the sofa at home with our kids, and then spend the night with this crap. At least 5 trips of a 4 to 5 day duration. Then, in between the trips, they would stay late after work hours in the office and do it. Then she would come home and kiss me on the lips and sit down and eat the supper I cooked and complain about how bad her day was. The affair started before I lost my job. It wasn't like she became dissatisfied and went off the deep end after I became unemployed. After D-Day, I was just a mess, like a puddle on the floor. If I'd had a job then, I probably would have lost it. It was all I could do to take care of necessities. I lay awake at night, just wide awake with my heart ripping out, and she lay beside me sleeping like a puppy. When the doctor prescribed me some medicine, her response was, "Do you really think you need that?" Like I was faking it or something. She must exist in a different reality than I do. Gone is the woman I married. This entity I live with now is cold, hard, and mean. I told her on D-Day that she was going to have to quit her job. Her response, "Okay, I'll quit, just as soon as you get a job that will support us so I can look for something else." The truth is, I had about as good a job as I'll ever get in this area we live in. I had worked my way into a good spot after 18 years and was making good money. I always made the most money since we met. This guy she was banging is young, single, lives modestly, and makes approximately twice what I did. No job I'm going to get is going to trump that. I'm 9 years older than my wife, and this crap is 5 years younger. I probably can't compete with that either. I'm not overweight, but I have lost 15 pounds on the infidelity diet, and have been exercising, taking care of myself, and eating better. I'm in better shape now than any time in the last 10 years. But she's taken the best from me and turned me into a damn mess. She gave me several greeting cards over the course of a few weeks, answered my questions what I believe was honestly, vowed that she messed up and would spend the rest of her life fixing it. When I mentioned counseling, she balked. When I mentioned her quitting her job, she said she would if I got a job and made that possible. I asked her to write a no-contact email and send it. She ignored the request. I told her no contact outside of work with OM. She continues to talk to him occasionally outside of work hours and says it is strictly business. I asked her to let me know by text anytime she was around him. She has broken that a few times and was caught only because I asked who she was with. This is in the office with others present. She has quit traveling with him altogether. She does not work late, and if she does, we leave the phone on so I can hear what's going on. There's a lot she does, but there's a lot she will not do. That's a far cry from what she promised me, that she would do whatever I needed her to do. Yes, I should have done things much differently. It's one of those things you don't think about much until you wake up and find yourself eating a crap sandwich. I'm monitoring her very closely. If she's still in it, then they are reduced to chatting in the office at work. Yes, they were able to be intimate at the office, but that was after everyone else had gone home and she and him stayed late. She doesn't stay late like that now. The once or twice she has, it has not been long and we were in touch. If she has a burner phone, she doesn't use it in the car, and it never comes home with her. Trust me, I have read this in several other forums since I first started suspecting problems. I am familiar with tech as I am experienced in electronics and computers. I am on top of most anything she could get away with. I'm not saying I know 100% she's not doing anything, but I have not caught her doing anything except taking a few calls outside of work hours, which some I know were business because I had there and heard them. I cannot realistically expect her to carry out her job and have zero contact with him. She doesn't go anywhere or do anything outside of going to work where she could ever come in contact with him. They were able to do what they did because I allowed her to travel alone with another man and trusted her completely and was totally unsuspecting. I imagine it got real for Am when I busted her with texts that could blow him out of the water. He knows I have the evidence and could sink his ass. I am very aware that I have not done what the forums advise in this matter. There is never an excuse for cheating. I firmly believe that, and I do not take blame for her bad decisions. I laid the blame totally on her for betraying me and she took it and acknowledged it. However, I do take blame for some of our problems that made it possible for this to happen. My problem stems from her attitude, which is very much passive-aggressive and resentful towards me. There are things that happened in our marriage over the years that affected the way she feels about me. I felt she was wrong to feel the way she did and ran roughshod over her feelings for years on end and did cause her a lot of hurt. Her anger and resentment, whether justified or not, was what allowed her to fall and do what she did. What I have come to realize is that whether she was right or wrong about the things previously in our marriage, her feelings mattered to her and I ignored them. However, I didn't deserve to be cheated on. Under those circumstances, expecting total and complete submission from her, while ideal, is not the way the world works. It is realistic to expect her to end the affair, and it stay ended. That's non-negotiable. She is totally aware of that. As long as I feel she is not still cheating, I feel like it is worth it to try and work through some of our problems and see where it goes. If I find she is still in it, in any way, it's straight out nuclear fusion time. Until then, I'm still working with her. I mainly wanted input on my job situation, and her feelings towards it as it relates to me. I know the feelings women in general have for SAHD husbands and never intended to find myself in that situation. I knew going into it that it was not a good thing, but it seemed right for me and our family at the time. If I had found a job, I don't believe she would be pulling back away from me. The problem is since we came into some money, it made it not mandatory that I find a job quickly. It has been too long now, and she's lost faith in me. That is my fault, and she can't help the way she feels regarding it. This is not something I can fix quickly. I can't just run out and get a job. I can, however, lower my expectations on finding a great job and take what I can. I have read those books, by the way. I don't totally agree with everything in them, but they have opened my eyes to some things I never considered, and I'm implementing some of the advice from them. When I first found out, I thought it was completely emotional and just a friendship that had crossed the line. I was caught so off guard that I just didn't know what to do. Then I found out it was physical and she was such a wreck and so devastated that I just didn't expose. I felt like possibly getting her fired from her job was mean and vindictive. I should have done it then. I know that now. Now, 11 months out from D-Day, with no hard evidence the affair continues since D-Day, I can't justify exposure unless I catch her up to something. Now, she would definitely see it as an act of revenge if she truly has quit the affair. Well, she is peaking. No doubt about it. I was positioned very well in my career also and made more money than her until the company was bought out and took a turn for the worst. Her company restructured also, but she ended up with a new boss who had the hots for her and her career took off and she was promoted. Things went badly for me, and I failed to rise to the challenge of finding another good job. It's not like I haven't tried to. I'm just saying when her affair started, I still had my job, and was making more money than her. That is exactly what she did, was trying to blame me for lack of attention. I was dealing with a terminally ill parent for several years. We were percolating in debt. My job was up in the air for several years as the company struggled with round after round of layoffs. Yes, I was focused on other things. Yes, I expected her to understand and be there for me. Instead, she found new young affluent boss man who had the hots for her to be more interesting. If I hadn't lost my job and had time to look around me at what was going on, I probably would not have become suspicious and checked her texts. Yes, there were problems in the marriage before the cheating. The problem was dealing with real life and her inability to communicate. Sure, she probably gets along with pretty well. She's never done anything to him to make him mad. I took those excuses of hers, rolled me up, and shoved them up her ass after D-Day. The running and treadmill. The treadmilling has been a yearly thing for her as she fights age coming on, and the propensity of women in her family to be overweight. She was athletic when younger, and she has expressed the desire for years to become fit enough to run in like 5K runs and such. Interestingly enough, the year she was in the affair, she did not treadmill at all. She had gained more weight while in the affair than in the last few years combined. So, that red flag was not seen at all. She got serious about it this year, about the same time of year, she always does. She has really stuck with it this time, and we have both run in some races this year as a family. She is treating it as a hobby, and we have been doing it together. She is more serious with it than I am, however. Is it a red flag now? I don't know. The doctor put her on high blood pressure medicine, and I think she may have gotten a wake-up call from doctor on her family history and the need to exercise and manage her weight. So, I just don't know. I don't think it's for OM's benefit because she was heavier than she ever had been when he was chasing her. He's a heavier kind of guy himself, so she wouldn't need to do that to keep his attention. After considering it pretty hard, I think she's just trying to better herself and relieve stress. I'm in better shape than I have been in many years too. One thing, she saw me lose a bunch of weight in a hurry on the infidelity diet plan. Her getting her degree and wanting to put some time between the affair and her leaving really makes me think she was already planning her exit from the marriage, and two things happened. I actually lost my job, and she got busted before she was ready to leave. She probably intended to pop up with a miracle romance with OM after a suitable amount of time. They were already having to hide it from all the other coworkers. With me having some evidence and holding it up over her and OM's jobs, she had to back off and try now. She thinks she can show her ass again because I did not expose and I have not found a job. It's a messed up situation for sure. We got a lot going on right now. Vacation coming up, wedding to go to. Don't get me wrong everyone. She's got a lot of stress on her. When I say she's cut me off, I don't mean like fighting about it and her declaring it. More like I'm just not in the mood. We have gone long periods in the past when things have not been right between us. While there's a good chance it's true, knowing my particular wife, it does not certainly mean she's back to the affair. When the affair was on, and I didn't know, she was screwing me too. Enthusiastically. How many would have confronted the Everything I read at the time told me not to. Would telling him I didn't give a damn and that I was going to expose him if I caught a whiff of anything be considered a threat in a court of law. I made finding out about him a priority. I probably know more about OM than she does. Seriously, not kidding about that. Unlike the world I worked in, their business is not really about making money per se. More like a public institution. The fallout from them being discovered could be entire career-ending severe. I could not care less about him. But even though my wife destroyed me on several levels, I have not up to this point wanted to see her career ended. I'm 11 months into a reconciliation. Yes, it's turning out to look a whole lot like false reconciliation. But seriously people, I'm monitoring her 7 ways from Sunday and there is no more evidence of wrongdoing. So, I should go nuclear because her attitude isn't what I require. Half of what she claims our problem is me saying mean things to her, yelling at her, and having a bad attitude. Well, how about not F me over and maybe I'd be more pleasant. I definitely should have confronted the guy as soon as I found out. Now, after 11 months, do I still do it? I have plenty of self-respect. That's why it hurts so badly. I have had much the same experience as this guy has with my kids. My wife and I co-parent well together. We live for our kids, the both of us. The quote, for the younger folks, one thing you won't get until you have kids is that these little people are 2 things I would kill myself for without a second thought. I kicked her out of the house for 2 months, and as much as I hated her for those 2 months, watching the effect it had on these 2 kids was devastating. Whereas mommy, when is mommy coming home, their personalities changed and it made me so sick to see them acting different. They would stay with her at her parents' and then stay with me, and sometimes they didn't want to come home to me, they wanted to stay with her. Enter lonely nights of binge drinking and sobbing, 35-year-old man but whatever, on my floor for hours. There is no amount of hate toward her that is worth taking the kids' mommy from them or causing them any instability. That is my opinion. But I guess people divorce all the time and kids deal, just so who knows. Still, seeing the effect it had on them is why I eventually invited her back to the house. Some nights we are in the same bed, the last few nights I have been on the couch because I don't want to be near her. But the kids are very normal and happy now. Being a dad, you always, or should, think in sacrifice mode. I would be willing to be in a subpar marriage if it meant my kids would be better off. Now if she and I were fighting all the time and the kids were seeing it, that would be a different story. But she and I agree to be mom and dad at all times when the kids are around, and we talk almost every night. We talk a lot. Sometimes they are good talks, sometimes they are not. Just trying to add a bit of perspective on what my age and kids make me have to do. I do not fear the guy. The main consideration is that they work in an office where there is on-site security. Hell, I think the doors stay locked to the damn place and you have to have a key to get in at all. I could wait in the parking lot for him. My wife has been told exactly how I feel. She is the one who avoids communication. That has been a problem our entire marriage. She will not communicate. She holds it all in until something breaks. I suggested counseling many times before her affair. She will not see any counselor. I mainly reference that quote because my kids are very important to me. I was fortunate that my parents were only separated by death. I have witnessed friends growing up in divorced families, seen firsthand the drama between children and parents who got remarried, and kept 2 children of a relative of mine for a time when their parents were separated, divorcing. It was heartrending the sadness those kids had for their family unit. My wife is a damn good mother to our children. What's so damn crazy is my wife comes from a divorced family where her father cheated. She has huge issues herself with her own mom and dad over it here 20 years later. That she could cheat herself after what she has seen it can do is just beyond screwed up. I was commuting, working long hours myself. She realized she could get away with it, never thought there was any way she would ever get caught, so she did it. She only got caught because she fell asleep and didn't count on the guy unexpectedly blowing up her phone when she didn't have it in her hand. She got careless. She had plenty of fear when I confronted her. Yes, my intentions were not to go anywhere. I was raised to not be a quitter and to stick by your partner. Can't help that was the way I viewed things. Now, after all that has happened, I'm not afraid to admit that having that attitude was ineffective. I thought my wife was infatuated, that she was fogged up, and would come to her senses. She did display some remorse and seemed to re-engage me for a few months. In reality, she has had a paradigm shift in the way she views me and our life together. The guy she married and had kids with isn't good enough anymore. That's what I'm dealing with. Until about the 8-month mark, my wife was actively engaging me, and we went through had settled to a more normal bonding routine. I had, and still have total transparency in all her devices. She had me thinking while not an ideal we were trying to and she did try what I thought was a show of real effort. That combined with my tech and checking up had me satisfied that she was out of the only now, after I have shared with you all, and gotten the responses I have I have a clearer perspective on what has happened. She had already lost her respect for me when she slept with the now I see that she had to suffer the consequences to have any hope of that respect ever coming back. That's the part I missed in all my reading. While I thought I was being the bigger person by accepting her back, after a while, and still working with she saw it as weakness and desperation. My job situation is a negative factor also. Now, she's using it as an excuse to give up on the which her heart was never in to start with. Yes, I should have made her quit the job. I should have exposed her to family and her work. I should have confronted I should have not accepted no on the counseling. That is my fault. I messed things up. Doing those things would have knocked her ass off the fence one way or the other, and I'd be in a better spot and retained my self-respect. I get that now 11 months out. Wife knows she ruined the marriage. She knows that. Her attitude is sort of like, well, I messed that up so bad that he will never love or trust me again like I want to be loved or trusted, so just F it all. Yet, for whatever reason is in her head, probably her fear of exposure to her family, her fear of being fired from her job, and her not wanting to accept that she has done this to her family after growing up in a family that was destroyed by infidelity herself. She will not actually leave the marriage. She truly respects no one. Not her dad, her mom, my mom, no one. She thinks she is smarter than everyone else. She possibly does respect as he has all the power. He has all the power at her job. He calls the shots. She has to do what he says. He is single and doesn't have to put up with her crap. That probably is attractive to her, same as I was when I was single and had a good job before we were married. But she thinks she is smarter than him too. Let her try real life with him, tie him to a big mortgage, take all he earns and tie it up in a family. Let her see him scratch his ass unshaven in his underwear, enslaving his ass off to do all the crap a family requires, and he will lose his shine and she will eat him for lunch as well. There are some things she said that leads me to believe she had already figured out she didn't want a future with him, but the deal went down. She got caught. F our marriage to hell and back for me. Enter the dynamic after he got what he wanted and sleep with her. Now, she has some power. She could cry harassment and F him over, and he knows it, so now he has to handle her with kid gloves. He still has the power, but he knows he's got a situation there. She's enjoying her power over him too. I don't know what happened, but after D-Day and some crying, she came around and wanted to fix things. My take is he was not willing to take her on full time, and that threw her. Maybe she is still trying to reel him in, with all the exercise and sharpening her looks. We were living in a situation where we were living for the kids and our jobs. We had lost our connection. A lot of crap came our way, and she couldn't hack it and checked out of the marriage. Hell, I wasn't having fun either, but when the chips are down, you hunker down and endure it together. I thought that's what we were doing until I discovered her alternate little life she was leading. As much as I wanted to hurt her like she hurt me after D-Day, I'm not a vengeful person. No matter what else, she's the mother of my kids and I'll be tied to her forever because of it. If she doesn't feel anything for me, then I'd rather split as amicably as possible instead of making it a war. It's not going to make a whole lot of difference who files on who. That being said, I'd rather be in the driver's seat. I just haven't reached that point where I don't want to see my kids every day yet. I'm strong. I'll be alright without her. I'm just not one to act rashly. And this crap hurts. I know that I have not been the model of a strong take-charge husband. I have shown weakness since this all happened. Everything going down like it did overwhelmed me. I shut down for a period of time, and it was a chore to just get through the day. I most likely had a breakdown event all by myself. I had significant severance pay, some inheritance, and also knew I had timber that could be cut. Yes, if a good job had become available, I would have taken it in a heartbeat. I looked and have been looking. It has not materialized. You all are telling me if you had money stacked up in the bank and everything else I have been dealing with, you would be out bagging groceries in order to say you have a job and are being productive. That's bullcrap, and the ones of you that are honest know it. Now, I have let the dynamic slide too far to that side and I'm seriously behind the 8 ball. Only thing that will begin to fix this is her away from Mom, and me find a good job making more money than she does again. I'm telling you, my wife is one of those kind of people who is never satisfied. Took 15 years to find that out, but it's the truth. We had a good life going on. Nice house, good health, precious children, but it wasn't enough for her. We had difficulties, yeah, but she decided she wasn't happy before she F her boss. Her affair to her is the symptom of what happened, and she will not shoulder the entire blame for it. While the affair to me is the issue. She had unrealistic expectations of what marriage should be from the get-go. I worked my ass off making a good living and basically turned my paycheck over to her for the last 12 years. We did everything she wanted to do that our combined salaries could afford. My wishes were secondary. I drove 10-year-old piece of crap cars while she drove the new one. I let go all my hobbies except for small things I could carry on with because there was no money for me. Everything went to the house and family. I worked all week long commuting to my job and then all weekend trying to keep our big lawn landscaped because we couldn't afford to have it done. We bit off more than we could chew with a large home and the bills that go along with it. We should have planned more for the future and downsized our home. We were struggling with all that, and she couldn't see it. She wanted another kid, and a swimming pool, and more expensive vacations like some of her rich Facebook friends. Damn Facebook to hell. We were struggling with that when my mother fell ill, and then I lost my job, and then discovered her lengthy work-spouse affair. 11 months out, we are just beginning to be able to pick up the pieces from this tragic bunch of crap. 1.5 years later, one thing I have learned is control of a wayward is not possible. Where there's a will, there's a way. It's a sobering thought. Only thing a BS can control is their response to their particular situation. Did not D. We are going on 2+ years since DD. No further signs of cheating despite extensive tech. Guardedly optimistic. But WW and OM still work for same employer. Eyes and ears are wide open. I'm fully aware of what I'm doing and how it could turn out. If, or as most are inclined to believe, myself included, when my situation goes sideways this time, it will be scorched earth. My comment, 2 years from D-Day and they still work with each other. I'm sorry, but I'm going to side with the doubters on this one. She should have changed jobs a long time ago. Dirty lunch breaks can happen. They see each other in person and you wouldn't know it. How can you rebuild a marriage when your wife works with the affair partner? What a relationship lesson.